Hey everybody, this is Chris Parry from Equity.Guru. Look, I've been writing a story about a company called Eastower Wireless that's just going public today. That is Tuesday, the 29th of March. It's a pretty complicated read, so I thought I'd just do a little video to a company that summarizes my thoughts on this company as it's about to launch on the public markets. Some background, I've been involved in helping this company get to the public markets in a small way and investing in it along the way since about, I want to say 2019. It's been a long run. At the time, 5G was just sort of emerging as a technology that was going to be a big thing. Not a lot of people really knew about it, so time wasn't really right to get it public. Then COVID hit, changed the landscape a little bit, and now here we are about to watch it jump onto the public markets at last today. So what is 5G? For those that don't know, 5G is the next iteration of wireless communications. So let's say 2G was text messages, 3G in the 90s was, or the early 2000s was images, the internet, being able to look at the internet on your cell phone without having a flip, and the end of the pay per text message world. That was a good thing. 4G was the more recent iteration, which allowed one-way video and e-commerce to proliferate on the internet. There'd be no Netflix if not for the fact that 4G came along and made video downloads manageable. The problem is that the current 4G and in general internet is built for one-way video, right? So you go, say Netflix, I would like to see this terrible trashy reality show. Netflix says, here is the file. And if you want to stop the file, you can stop it. If you want to fast forward, you can fast forward. But generally speaking, the traffic is one way. You're not sending a whole lot back. So 5G is different. 5G, instead of sending traffic down the pipes across the internet, across a border, maybe up off a satellite to a central server somewhere, then have it beam back up off the satellite across the pipes, across another border, back to you. 5G is kind of everywhere. 5G is like there's little towers all over the shop. Instead of one big Wi-Fi tower that everything's being beamed out of, you could have small towers, small cells. You could have it in light posts. You could have it under manhole covers. You could have it on the side of a building, top of a building, inside an office. 5G then allows things to go quickly because they're not going all the way around the world and back, right? So it's a change in the architecture of the internet, of wireless communications. So big deal. Basically means the end of the internet as we know it eventually, and the entirety of the internet's ecosystem needing to be rebuilt for 5G. That's no small thing and requires some dedicated skill sets from companies that do that sort of backbone infrastructure work. So here's where it gets tricky. All right, so about 15 years ago, the US government said, okay, so we want you to upgrade FirstNet, which is like the first responders emergency services network. We want 5G to be there before it's anywhere else. So here's $100 million AT&T, get it done. And AT&T has kind of dragged its feet because it doesn't really have the contractors, doesn't have the workforce to be able to do the work of upgrading to 5G across that entire network. So now it's starting to get to panic stations. Now they've got to get this work done or they're going to lose that contract. So it's really important that companies like Eastower, which provide those services, send the guys up the poles, change out the infrastructure, have the technology, have the skill set, that they're in place and ready to go. And look, if Eastower had 10,000 employees today that were trained, certified, and ready to go, AT&T would take them all and say, go work, make money. It costs about $70,000 to train a group of 4 to do this work, and when they're operating, they're rented out for $70,000 a month. So there's a real return here. There's an imperative for Eastower to get as many crews up and running as possible. So how do you do that? Well, you can get them from outside the US. You can bring over people that have the talent from other countries. Expensive. Still got to train them up to local standards. Got to deal with governments to do that. You can get local guys and train them up. That's also takes some time, and you want to really a bit of money. But what you can also do is you just go out and buy market share, right? You can go buy crews. Go to all the other little contractors who've struggled their way through COVID, mind you, and some of them are really at their financial end. Go snap them up on the cheap, get their crews, upgrade them a little bit so that they're at your standard, and bang them out as quickly as you can. Basically, growth by purchase rather than growth by training. So that's the plan here, is that on one side you've got the training center, you've got these guys getting up to speed as quickly as possible. On the other side, you've got the ability to actually raise money on the public markets, go out there and purchase competitors. Right now, Eastower is based out of Florida and doing a shit ton of work out there, but they're also expanding outwards over the next few years, which will mean basically the entirety of the southeast of the United States, all the way across to Oklahoma and Texas, all the way up to Kentucky, Mississippi, Tennessee, the Carolinas, right? So you've got a big swathe of the country that this company is ready to roll straight into. Okay, so what's stopping them from doing it all now? Money. It's taken a while to get to the public markets. I first invested in these guys years ago, and a couple of years ago at least. And it's taken some time to get through the audits, through COVID, through understanding through the exchange of what they actually do. But now we've got the green light. They're ready to go. They can go out, make some money, raise some money, grow as quickly as possible. And here's the thing: these contracts to do this rollout are 25-year deals, right? Like, you're not just going to suddenly in the next 2 years have rolled 5G out across the country. It doesn't work that way. There's too much to do. You're not just upgrading a wireless pole. You're not just tacking on an antenna to an existing Wi-Fi pole. You've got to go out and put brand new technology in. It's like pulling up every fiber optic cable and having to replace them. It's a big job, and it's not going away. So these guys are going to be in hot demand for a long time. They're going to be on a very steep growth curve, because that's the only way to really do big business. You can't just be running 3 crews. You've got to be running 30 crews. So while everyone else is desperately trying to find their own crews, Eastower is just going to go out there and gobble these guys up as quickly as they can, make sure they're working to a certain standard, and get them out there into the field. There's billions of dollars to be had. Billions of dollars. This isn't like a rinky-dink deal. This isn't something where, well, maybe people will want 5G, maybe they won't. Let's be really clear here. 5G is not a luxury, right? Moving from 4G and 3G to 5G, it's not a luxury. It's actually more cost effective for the wireless companies, for the comms companies, to have 5G rather than 3G and 4G. They make more money, it's more efficient, they can go out and sell bigger packages to consumers. So they want this done as quickly as possible. Traditionally, admittedly, the Wi-Fi companies, the telcos, they're not quick to roll out upgrades, because that's a capital expense, right? You got to upgrade every single Wi-Fi tower you have. Man, you really got to need the consumers to want that before you're going to roll that money up. But 5G is a different story. 5G, without 5G access, you are behind all of your competitors. Without 5G access, you can't keep that FirstNet contract going. Without 5G upgrades, you're going to be spending more money to service existing customers and give them less results. So really, the race is on to get this done as quickly as possible. Now, Chinese would love to come in and do it and have the technology to do it, but we know that there's some issues there. Government doesn't want that, because they don't want the Chinese government listening in on every piece of communications and internet traffic in the United States. So a homegrown solution is necessary, and Eastower delivers that. So for mine, what's really interesting here is whenever we get a new technology like this, you get a lot of companies that are just sort of spring up out of nowhere and say, hey, we're doing it. They'll put a nice investor deck out about how it's all going to happen in the next few quarters. And then maybe they get there, maybe they don't. These guys have been in business since 2015 doing this stuff. They already have existing clients in the biggest names in the business. Namely AT&T, Verizon, Nokia, Siemens, Sprint, Mastec, T-Mobile, Ericsson, CenturyLink, Lockheed Martin, and American Tower. Like, these are billion-dollar companies, big infrastructure companies, and they are currently doing business with Eastower. This isn't a group that is going to try and spend the next 6 months trying to convince big players that they can play too. They're already out there doing it, and they've already got a reputation for doing the job really, really well. So for mine, that's the kind of company I want to get into. As well, it's not a $1 billion company coming out the gates. This is a $15 million market cap company the day before it goes public. Okay, so for mine, that's the rare occasion where I can get into 5G in something that is going to be many $1 billion industry, but I can get there at a valuation that still allows me some meat on the bone so that I can actually make money on the way up, right? If this is a $15 million company today, it's a couple of decent sized buys away on the markets from being a $30 million company tomorrow. They're definitely making revenue. They're not going to go bankrupt anytime soon. This is a growth play, a picks and shovels play for the 5G networks, and I couldn't be more enthusiastic. I was enthusiastic 3 years ago when I first saw it. I've been enthusiastic continually since that time. I trust these operators. I know that they're doing the work. I've spoken to them. I've seen what they do, and this is a reasonably priced deal that could be huge in a huge sector that is only just now starting to show itself. In years to come, 5G will be what drives self-driving cars. It will be what drives industry. It will be what drives military, first responders. It may take some time for video games and streaming and all the rest to catch up to it, but here's the thing. If you want to be able to have the Netflix of video games, where instead of downloading games to your machine and having to wait 3 hours for them to get there, that you could actually just subscribe to a service that gave you access to all the games on their machine, and you played them on the cloud with data going back and forth quickly. You need 5G to do that. 5G makes that possible. The Netflix of video games would be immense. It would be like changing the video game world forever in a positive way, bringing it closer to the streaming model. And that's just one small application of 5G of many, many, many that you're going to see rolling out in the years ahead. Now, to be sure, I already have a 5G phone. I've got one right here. And I've got a 5G account at my Canadian telco supplier. And yet I'm not seeing anything on 5G, right? I don't actually get 5G connectivity because there's no apps out there yet, right? And because the network just isn't out there the way it's supposed to be. Now, you see the maps from the American telco saying, oh, we've got all the better 5G coverage than anybody. That's bullshit. Putting up a 5G tower in the middle of Chicago doesn't give you the ability to black out Chicago and say now Chicago is 5G. 5G is a street-by-street, corner-by-corner technology, which requires an immense lift of infrastructure installations. So that's why I want to be on the picks and shovel side, invested in companies like Eastower that can give me that sort of ability to ride that wave. So the company again is Eastower Wireless. It's ESTW on the Venture Exchange. You'll probably see it on your screens today, if not tomorrow. But if you want some inexpensive exposure to 5G, ESTW. Thanks, man.